decarbonisation net zero week. This is day 2, and we're going to go through energy auditing today in a bit more detail. Those of you that were here yesterday, we went through some sort of more basic tips on how you as a business can reduce your energy use, such as looking at your bills and sealing gaps in your premises and that kind of thing. So today is more about energy auditing in terms of what we do or what we can help you with, and I'm going to talk you through an energy audit, the energy report, and how to reduce your energy use moving forward. So this is what I do day to day. So this is my sweet spot. So hopefully what I can convey to you today will be of interest. I might give you some tips on how to look at your business with a fresh pair of eyes and reduce your usage. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay, and you could argue it's a good time of year to do it as well, because obviously we're now putting our heating on, so your bills are going to go up. So it's a good time to look at this with a fresh pair of eyes and try and get those bills down. So quick housekeeping before we start. As you can probably expect, if you could turn your videos off, I can see you all have, which is great. You're all on mute already. Again, that's fantastic. Just cuts down on that background noise. I'm going to talk for probably 20-25 minutes, I would hope, but you can use the chat function during the session to ask questions. I have my colleagues Claire and Maria and Sarah picking up those questions, and we can of course go to anything more pertinent at the end of the session when we've got a Q&A as well. So anything interesting will open to the floor. We can all interact on those questions. Webinar will be recorded as you would expect, and you will get a copy of that recording post event. We also send out all slides as well, because there are some nice hyperlinks we put on there for you as well. So slides will go out to you as well, alongside a feedback form at the end of the session. So fill that out if you could, and that helps us see where we can improve for future sessions. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay, so the agenda for today then. First thing is a little bit about me, which we'll come to on the next slide, and then we'll get into the bones of it, which of course is the energy audit. So I will explain objectives and actions, what an energy audit will give you as a business. I have some nice examples, some actual real world examples of things we've recommended to businesses and how it's reduced their usage. So we've got actual figures for you. I'll then go through a summary of what the energy report will show you in terms of the cost and carbon savings, and then I'll give you a nice little overview of the good bit, basically, which is the grants at the end of it. So you'll be able to see what money is available in our grant pot, how it works, and how you access that funding. And then we'll end with a nice little Q&A at the end in terms of, you might have some questions on the audits, some questions on how the grant works, that kind of thing. So that'll be right at the end. I'm hoping to get this done within half an hour, but I think I might overrun if that's okay with everyone on the call. We do try and put these at lunchtime to sort of fit in with your busy days, but it may overrun. But we'll see how we go. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay, bit about me. As you can see, that's a photo taken a fair few years ago. I'm a little bit grayer and wiser since then. So a bit about me. I'm a geography person. I love geography. I've got a degree in geography. I've recently done an MSc in sustainability, which is why I've ended up where I am. I'm a practitioner. I am a member, so I'm very keen on keeping that accreditation going. So I know a lot about the environment and energy, and I started working for Coventry Council in 2021 in this role, and since then I've done over 300 audits and a lot of grant applications. So hopefully today will give you the benefit of my experience at the council and within the sustainability sphere. Next slide, please, Maria. So a bit of background then to the actual audits themselves. Audits are carried out using ISO 50002 methodologies, and we're going to go through what we term a standard audit today. Now, a standard audit is the most common audit that we offer, and it's a more basic audit looking at building fabric and those kind of things. If your business, you're on the call and your business is what we call a larger consumer, and by that we mean of anybody over 750,000 kilowatt hours a year of consumption, we do offer a free high intensity audit, which basically looks at your business in a lot more detail. So it's more detailed and it will give you more recommendations moving forward. The grant's the same, but the free audit is a lot more involved. So if that's you, we'll show you later on where we can triage you to. But today is going to focus on the more common of the audits, which, as I say, is our standard audit. I'm kind of hoping that will also, perhaps, if you're a business on this call, it might give you the tools to carry out a bit of this yourself. You might be able to go out there and go, right, I now know how to work out possible savings for some things that have been recommended to me. Obviously, we're here to help you, but you might want to do a bit of self-assessment. And a key thing to mention, or the three key things to mention, you need to be an SME. It's pretty common with all of these funded programs. You need to be an SME, and also there are some other eligibility requirements in terms of what you're looking to do and the business sector, which again we can talk you through when you first engage with us, basically. And just to clarify the SME restrictions, as you're more than aware, you need to have less than 250 employees and a turnover of less than £36 million to qualify as an SME, basically. Two things the energy audit won't help you with, I'm afraid. It doesn't go anywhere near your EPC rating, so it has no bearing on that. And also it won't help you with anything that's ESOS or ISO 14001. They are two separate things. But what it will do is guide your business on how to reduce your energy use. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay, so just talking you through the steps then that I take when I approach an audit. The first step is actually the bit that I enjoy the most. So the first thing is we'll have spoken to you, we'll have done a nice triage call initially, either over the phone or over Teams, to establish your eligibility. Then we book in the on-site visits, which we typically allow sort of 1 to 2 hours for. We first of all will sit down with you and we go through what you're looking to achieve, basically. So we go through your business objectives and goals. Most importantly, we'll go through your current energy usage. So we need to know your billing information before the meeting, ideally, because it gives us an idea of what you're consuming and also what your rates are, because your energy unit rates have a big bearing on what the payback periods and what the savings are, basically. So it's basically a nice little sort of 20-minute sit down, talk about what you're looking to achieve as a business. You could be looking at more short term than long term. You might have a sustainability plan that this will integrate with. You might be looking for a certain type of equipment to be installed. So that initial call is really important to get a feel for what we can offer you, basically. Would someone mind just turning themselves on mute, please, if that's possible? I'm not sure who's got their microphone off, but if you could, that'd be fantastic. Okay, so that's the initial chat to find out exactly what you're looking for and how we can help you. And that then goes on to the next bit, which is the next slide, please, Maria. Okay, so this is the actual bones of the audit. So this is a walk around of your premises, basically. So ideally, you'll accompany us on the walk around, because we can talk through things with you as we're walking around. And look, I always say this is not rocket science. I'm there to spot things that are inefficient, to then guide you on what we can look to replace them with to reduce your energy use, basically. So I'm looking at where energy's been wasted, how energy can be saved, and we're looking at things that we can guide you on to improve things for your business premises, basically. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay, so the next sort of 7 or 8 slides are live examples. They're things that I look for on site and things that I look to recommend, and also the things that people have secured grant funding for, basically. So the first thing I look for when I arrive on site is windows, doors, that kind of exterior glazing, shop frontages, those kind of things, because look, essentially that's the first thing that we see. So basically we're looking for, if I can spot a building with old-fashioned single glazed windows, then we know there's a good thing we can go out there, basically, because we know that if we were to implement or install double glazing, as an example, we know there's savings. Now, a key tenet of those savings, you'll see throughout the presentation, is that we use carbon trust methodology. Now, this little table you'll see on the left-hand slide is lifted from the Carbon Trust website. It's a nice basic diagram, but we use it a lot. And that shows us what potential savings are available by implementing improvement measures. So in the case of windows, as you'll see from the far left arrow, we know that we can save you as a business approximately 26% if we are to replace old single glazed windows with double glazed windows, basically. And again, that gives you an idea of how important that energy baseline is, because it's got to be 26% of something. So if we've got your heating consumption over the year, we can easily work out for you what the potential savings are by improving your glazing, basically. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay, now here's a live example I did for a business up in Coventry. We had a cost of £3,000 for the windows. I worked out approximate savings for upgrading on their heating expenditure of £845. And from that, we can start to work out what the payback periods are, in this case, 3.5 years. And then we can also work out what the carbon savings are as well. Now, that's a live example, which I'll summarize a bit later on, but it's almost a no-brainer, in my opinion. And don't forget, the payback period that we're flagging there is excluding any funding. This business was able to secure a 50% grant towards their windows, so the actual cost to them was £1,500, and of course the payback was therefore under 2 years. So you can start to see how the recommendations we make work moving forward, basically. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay, still looking at building fabric. The next thing I tend to look for is insulation. That could be, depending on the building type, it could be loft insulation in your office. It could be Celotex insulation in your factory roof. It could be the wall cladding, the cladding you have, exterior cladding on your building. All of those kind of things. And again, the Carbon Trust tells me that it's a 9% saving for wall insulation and a 22% saving for roof insulation. So again, simple mathematics. As long as I've got your baseline consumption for your heating, I can start to guide you on what the potential savings are moving forward by putting in insulation, basically. And I've got a live example on the next slide. If you just flip to that, please, Maria. Yeah, another one here. Strangely enough, the cost was the same as the last example. It was £3,000, but as you can see, the savings here were really considerable. This was an office environment that I worked on a year or two ago, where they had a massive loft void with no insulation, and all this was straightforward fiberglass insulation, like you have in your roof at home, your loft at home. The payback period was again, it was a total no-brainer, 1.5 year payback before the funding, with a large carbon saving there as well. So that's the kind of thing we're looking for as part of our walk round. Okay, next one, please, Maria. Okay, we also, again, this depends on the business sector, but a lot of manufacturing businesses that we see in the industrial sector and so on, they have those metal roller shutter doors that you sort of see dotted around in the workshop, in the sort of goods in and out areas. And we know that we can replace those with rapid closure and insulated shutter doors. It's going to reduce energy usage by A, keeping the heat within the building, and B, being insulated, basically. So I know, again, same methodology, use the Carbon Trust methodology, which is between 9% and 18% saving by putting in those shutter doors. And if you go to the next slide, I'll again show you a live example. We had an example for a company I work with in the Warwickshire area where it was a £30,000 investment, but again, the savings were significant. It was just under a £10,000 a year saving, because they had a really large manufacturing area with lots of gas space heaters in, 3-year payback, 18 tons of carbon saved. And also they benefited from a more secure door as well. The newer doors were more secure. So as well as the energy savings in a lot of these examples, there can be another knock-on benefit in terms of newer kit, improved security and so on. So it's not always just about the energy savings, it's about other tangible benefits as well. Okay, next slide, please, Maria. Okay, so you can tell I've started off with the outside stuff, the building fabric stuff. Now we're going into the actual building. Lighting is a key thing, because this is actually, over the years, the thing that we funded the most from our various programs. As you would expect, we've all done the same in our houses, to be honest with you. It's replacing the traditional fluorescent and halogen lighting with LED, basically. Now, efficiency gains vary because, of course, it depends on the exact type of lighting on site. I generally work out payback periods to be 3 to 4 years. That seems to be the sort of the approximate return on investment. So it's a really easy thing to do, basically. You also benefit from better light quality. We work with a lot of manufacturing companies that like that better light quality for their staff to be able to see better at workbench level, basically. And also we're finding that fluorescent bulbs are expensive and they need replacing regularly. And secondly, they've been phased out. So at some point, you won't be able to buy those old-fashioned fluoro lights. So that is a key thing of what we do. And again, there's lots of plus benefits to replacing your lighting. I've put a little hyperlink in there to a carbon trust calculator that we use. If you want to have a play around with that, please feel free to do so. With that, you can put in what your current lighting is, and it will work out for you what the potential savings are moving forward. So it's a nice little tool that we use ourselves here. But generally, it's a 3 to 4 year payback. And if we go to the next slide, Maria, if that's okay. Yeah, here's another live example that I've pulled out of ones I've done recently. £17,000 or just over project cost, savings of just under £4,500 a year, payback of 3.5 years before funding. So again, all these examples have got really low paybacks even before the grant funding. So with the grant funding, which I'll discuss later, you can start to see how much of a commercial no-brainer that these kind of improvements are, basically. Yeah, thank you, Maria. So again, focusing on the internals of a premises. Done a lot of work recently, again in manufacturing sectors where they have old compressors. If you've got an old fixed speed compressor on site, they are inefficient, essentially. So by putting in place a variable speed compressor, you'll save up to 40% on your ongoing savings. And also what I've found over the years is a lot of the older compressors, they've got old air lines as well. There's lots of leakages, which is causing, again, more energy use than there needs to be. So air compressors are a nice one to look at. What I also find as well is, because air compressor companies want your business, if you ask for a quote on one, they'll also give you quite a detailed analysis of a comparison between the energy use between the old one and the new one. So it's a nice thing to look at if you're using a couple of those bits of kit on site. And again, I've got a nice example on the next slide, please, Maria. Which is, yeah, one I did a year or so ago now. So it's quite an expensive investment, 49,500, but the savings were over £20,000 a year, and again that payback was 2.5 years. So yeah, very much worth considering doing, especially if you're in manufacturing and have got an old compressor. Get in touch, we can look at that for you. Okay, so again, the internals of a building, be it an office, be it a workshop, be it a warehouse. The next thing I tend to look at is the heating, basically. Now, heating is a bit more difficult. The things that I've mentioned just now to you are effectively a like-for-like swap. We're taking an old bit of kit or we're improving one thing with a new thing. It's quite straightforward. Heating, as I'm sure you can appreciate, is very bespoke for everybody's site, basically. So a business might have an old gas boiler and a lot of gas space heaters around. They might have a bit of air conditioning. So really, this is something that we look at on a case by case basis. But we know as a fact that a lot of businesses consumption goes on heating, basically. And this is why that initial sit down is so important, because we need to understand what your business drivers are around your heating. It could be that you want to go more short term. If you go to the next slide, Maria, I'll talk through some of the more short term measures. Essentially, there's two ways I approach this. Do we look to improve or make your current setup more efficient? And by that, I mean, do we leave you on your fossil fuel, oil or gas boilers and try and improve their efficiencies by putting in place destratification fans, things like that, or even the insulation I've alluded to previously to try and increase the efficiency of that? That's more short term. We can recommend it and it does qualify for a grant. Or do we go more long term? Are we looking at replacing your heating with heat pumps, for example, or air conditioning and those kind of things that work better with solar. So it's a very, very difficult one to guide you through on here. It's very, very case by case, but we're all very experienced in the team here at guiding you the right way, basically, depending on what capital you've got and what the business drivers are moving forward, basically. Just an example on the next slide. Yeah, here's an example of one that I did where the business didn't want to commit to anything too long term. They had a 30-year-old boiler, so they decided to replace that with a higher efficiency gas boiler. So obviously it's not going really long term in terms of getting to, away from fossil fuels, but it was still saving a lot of costs for them, basically with an 8-year payback period. So again, heating's more of a tricky one. We've even done in the past whole sessions on heating. So yeah, we can discuss that with you when we get to site if that's okay. Okay, next one, please, Maria. Okay, something that we are, sorry, my dog's barking, if you can hear her, sorry. Something that we're very keen on here is solar PV. So we're very, very pro solar PV within Coventry Council, and we also have grant funding available to fund it. Key thing to say here is that we have 2 funding streams in Coventry, one of which can be used for solar and one that can't be used for solar, but we'll guide you through that more moving forward when we get to do that first triage call with you. But again, it's something that we strongly recommend. Now, if we can go to the next slide, please, Maria. Yeah, here's one that I did recently, whereby it was a £50,000 investment for a business. The cost savings were £11,400 per year, so only a 4-year payback. Over the years, I've seen paybacks of as low as 9 months. So it's something that we do recommend. We can possibly give you some grant funding towards it. It will increase your green narrative of your business, because I think it's key to say that this isn't just about cost savings. It's about perhaps presenting your business as a more green business. That kind of thing will help you perhaps win more tender opportunities. It will help you win bids in your supply chain. It may even help you attract and retain staff if you can demonstrate that your business is a bit greener. And by having solar, it does that. It's a nice little case study you can push out to your audience, but also having solar underpins a lot of the things such as heat pumps, EV charging points, all of those things that are electric. It helped make those also more viable as well. So yeah, we're very, very pro solar. We've done webinars on it, just on solar moving forward. But yeah, get in touch if solar's of interest, and we can talk you through your eligibility. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you, Maria. Machinery is something we also look at when we're on site. Machinery, by that I mean things like CNCs, lathes, extraction units, that kind of thing. So we can look at those for you in more detail. They're not massively common under the standard audit, in all honesty. They're more what we cover in the high intensity audit, but again, we can look at it for you. So essentially, if you as a business owner have your eye on a new machine and it is more efficient, and by that I mean that it uses less energy or perhaps can do the same action in less time, therefore is operationally more efficient, it may qualify for grant funding as well. So get in touch if that's of interest to you. Okay, next slide, please, Maria. Okay, now the next ones we have skirted on briefly during Sarah's presentation yesterday, but we always push it as much as we can because the Carbon Trust recommends that you can save up to 10% of your consumption by effectively behavioural changes, good housekeeping. So things like turning your lights off when they're not in use, turning your PCs off, closing doors, looking at your energy usage in more detail, getting half-hourly billing and looking at the data and so on. All these things will help reduce your energy use by up to 10%. I always recommend, and the Carbon Trust always recommend, putting a staff member as an energy champion or something along those lines. It's their responsibility to oversee your on-site usage, to make sure staff close doors and adhere to those objectives and so on. It will pay dividends in your energy use moving forward. As I say, up to 10% basically. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay. So they're the kind of things that we would look for when we're on site doing the audit for you. And again, this is why it's key that you're there with us, because we'll talk you through the bits of logic we're sort of looking at as we're walking around. We then go away with our pictures, with all of our notes, and we would then provide you with an energy report. And what this slide shows you is just a brief summary of what that report will show. So all these things in this table here are things we've just discussed earlier on in the actual presentation. What we would then go through with you is, these are the possible savings for these things we're recommending. Which of them, as a business owner, are more critical to you? So you as an owner can look at them and go, okay, so it might be that you want to look at the things with a quicker payback, if that's where your capital is best sat, or you might be thinking more long term, and therefore look at, for example, the boiler there, looking a bit more long term. So you can decide which ones, or all of them, that you actually want to take through to putting in place and applying for a grant on, basically. So it's very rare that you do all of them. Some businesses do, but normally we'd see 2 or 3 of those recommendations cherry picked and then move forward on. Just bear in mind as well that we don't just give you a simple table like this. We do provide you with a full report that gives you the logic behind each of those recommendations. So we give you a nice narrative as what you've currently got, and a nice explanation of why we recommend each of those things as well. So you can actually see the main business benefits behind each recommendation. Once you've identified which ones you want to go for, it is down to the business then to go out to market and get quotations, basically. Now, in terms of getting the quotations, depending on what you're looking for, you might need up to 5 quotes to support your application. You will always want more than 1 quote anyway to ensure best value, but it also ensures that the specialists are on site giving you more advice. Normally, of course, our advice is good and we're giving you the right advice. I have seen in the past things like heating as an example, where a heating specialist has gone to site and perhaps given slightly different advice to what I've given in terms of the spec. That's fine. That's fine. We can then adjust the figures to suit, and we can then adjust the grant application to suit that more specialised recommendation rather than ours. So just to summarise that, we are relying on you to go out and get quotations and get expert advice, just to sort of align with what guidance we're giving you, basically. Okay, next slide, please, Maria. Okay, so that's the front end bit. That's the actual reporting and the auditing bit. So what we then offer, just in terms of the actual grant bit, is, as you can see, we're there to help you reduce your carbon, basically. So that's our key role. All I've talked about so far is all free of charge, so we can show you those cost and carbon reductions moving forward. The grant bit, which of course is the best bit here, the grants are available between £1,000 and £100,000, and that's up to 50% towards the projects that we between us identified. So it's up to 50%. We still have money available. So if you've got something in mind, please get in touch and we can discuss that with you further. Okay, next slide, please, Maria. Thank you. Okay, so if that's piqued your interest, just to talk you through how it works, you need to register with us first of all. So there's a hyperlink just there, but there's a slide a bit further on with a QR code and details on. So register, give us some basic company details. That then comes through to one of the team. We decide where it best sits. We'll do an initial triage call with you and check your eligibility. And then we book the audit on site that I've just run through with you. Then we'll give you the recommendations in terms of the energy report. And then finally, we get you through to the actual grant, the grant application stage, basically. Now, a couple of points on that. You have to apply for the grant before you have any work done. So you can't retrospectively apply for anything once the work's been done. So you've got to go out and get quotes, apply for the grant before you can start the work on site. And then finally, I guess it's a fair bit actually, you don't get the money up front. The grant, once it's been approved, is allocated back to you once all the work is completed, basically. So you don't get it up front, unfortunately. Okay, next slide, please, Maria. Okay, so just a few of the things that may be of interest to you. We have a free Green Business Network, which is free to join. And as a member, you get networking opportunities, you get newsletters, and you get ideas, and you get first wind of these kind of sessions we put on. So if that sounds of interest, there's a QR code there. Please feel free to join. Next slide, please, Maria. We also have a Green Business podcast that we try and bring out every month. And on that, we talk about a lot of sustainability topics, basically. We talk about solar PV, heat pumps, anything that we think may be of interest to our Green Business Network audience. We do a podcast on, and we'll also have a little bit on there about the funding updates as well. So if that's of interest, subscribe and listen to those sessions moving forward. And then finally, I think, next slide, please, Maria. We also, this is a good one, because obviously when we've gone through our on-site reporting and discussions, very often the first thing that I'll get asked is, well, who do we use to do the work? You're recommending something, who's best to use? Now, as a council, we're not allowed to recommend individual suppliers. We have to stay impartial, and I'm sure you can appreciate why. But we do have what's called our Green Business Directory, which has a list of people in various sustainability sectors that you can go on to and give them a call and get quotes from them for the things we're recommending. So if that's of interest, please have a look at that. Next slide, please, Maria. Okay. So just back to registering then, as I said on the previous couple of slides, if that is of interest to you and you want to get one of us on site, me or one of my colleagues on site, there's the QR code. There are the two registration links. West Midlands has a different link to Warwickshire, but yeah, jump on those hyperlinks and get in touch, and we can get on site to look at it in more detail for you. So that is it from me, and I'm pleased to say I've made it at 13:31, so I didn't overrun. So good. Okay, so hopefully we got some good questions to go through. I'm just going to grab a quick drink first. Okay, right. I will start at the bottom. Question from Nicola. Let's have a look. Can I ask? Yes, that's actually a good question, to be fair. So yes, Nicola, you can have an audit if you're a tenant. It doesn't matter whether you're a tenant or you own the building, basically. A couple of things I'll say on that. In order to access the program, you need to have a minimum of 3 years on your lease agreement. Or to access the fund, you've got to be there for the next 3 years. And also it has a bearing on which way we take you in terms of the recommendations, because if you own the building, of course, you might be looking more long term. So you might want more long-term recommendations than if you're just a tenant, because if you're a tenant, 9 times out of 10, you want more short-term gains on your investment, basically. But yes, and then the listed building one, we can still work on listed buildings and we can still recommend things. But obviously, we need to bear in mind there might be some restrictions on what you can do to the exterior, basically, in terms of solar panels and double glazing and so on. But yes, we can work on both of those for you. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Okay, so another good question. So Lucia, thanks for your question. And just for the audience, the question is, our office is part of a residential property. I'm assuming that makes the grant process complicated, and I'm afraid you're right. So essentially, the grant funding in the program is for commercial buildings only. We're not allowed, or residential buildings are not eligible, basically. So essentially, answer to your question, you're not eligible. However, there are some grey areas around that in terms of your setup. So, for example, if your office is registered as a registered premises to your home, you have a dedicated home setup with a separate energy feed or energy meter in the name of your business, then there could be a chance we can look at your eligibility, but it'd need a further conversation to make sure we can actually do it. So if you are interested, then please register, and one of us can get in touch and pick that up for you. Question for Dave. Yeah, absolutely, Dave. Dave's asked if they're based in Warwick, are they covered for both? Yes, we cover the West Midlands and Warwickshire areas. So please, if you are eligible, we'll check that out for you. But in terms of your geography, no problem at all. We do a lot of work in Warwickshire, so don't worry. Register your interest, and one of us will get in touch and discuss that with you further. Okay. I think that's it for today. Has anyone got any more questions? Okay. Yeah, continuation from the previous question about the residential question. Essentially, if you are residential, as in you just strictly work from home, then no, you can't have a grant and you can't have the energy audit because it's not for residential properties. But I'm happy to talk you through your exact situation in more detail, if that's okay, to see if we can have a look at it in more detail for you. But strictly speaking, if you're working from home, doesn't work, I'm afraid. That's one of the rules of the actual program. But please do get in touch and we can talk through that with you in more detail. Okay. Okay, I'm going to draw to a quick close now, if that's okay. So, well, thank you all for joining. I hope that's been of interest to you and given you some food for thought. Just to run you through our next upcoming sessions, if that's okay. As you can see from the slide there, we've got an in-person event on Thursday, the 10th of October at the MTC up in Anstey. It's a couple of hours long, lots of good speakers. We'll all be there as well. So if that's of interest, please register, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. And then just an update on our Net Zero Week. Unfortunately, the webinar we had scheduled for tomorrow, we've had to move it because the business that we're speaking has actually got a critical situation occur today, so they can't make it. So we have moved that session till to Wednesday, the 16th of October. And that was a case study example on actually showing you live examples of what I've talked through today. So apologies for cancelling at short notice for tomorrow, but it's been rescheduled for the 16th. So my colleague Maria will be in touch to get that rearranged for you. Okay, that's it from me. Thank you all for joining. If that's been of interest, as I say, do get in touch, and we'll see you at our next webinar.